Holy shit. Thana, real question. When people make posts like this, do you read all of them before approving it, or do you just look at it and go, I'll feel bad if I don't approve this post? And then hit it with the rubber stamp. Can't wait for Vaush to read the title of my post along with 2 disconnected sentences, then get mad at me for 10 minutes. Hold on, I haven't read a second one. Is rice and beans self-sufficiency in the community the seeds Vaush talking about? There we go. Now I'm mad. I had to get the 2 sentences in. I do what I call going into N-word mode, where I skim for slurs and approve and remove later if enough people report it. Gotcha. That makes sense. That's a good system. I do dislike this parasocial language quite a bit. I honestly think the 2024 election broke him at this point. I don't like... It's like a way of infantilizing my positions or writing them off. Like, oh, she's just broken. He's just like emotionally traumatized or whatever. I feel like I've given a lot of really lengthy explanations for why I feel the way I do. It's not just me dejectedly waving my hand and going like, it's over, it's over, it's over. So it feels like it's a way of writing me off. Been noticing him gradually decline over these past 2 years, and it started when Trump won. I mean, I think it's a little bit reasonable to have the events of the past 2 years, you know, shift your perspective on the world and the future a bit. I think he's convinced himself a total worldwide societal collapse. I don't really, I mean, maybe climate change will bring about versions of that in some places. Yes, the U.S. empire decline, but empire decline does not equal fallout. I didn't say that, though. Add to this major defeats for right-wing authoritarians around the world, and I'm just not seeing the future of Vaush. See, this is what I mean. This proves this guy doesn't understand my point. The defeat of authoritarians around the world doesn't actually provide a defeater to my position, because my position is that it's underlying economic and material developments that have been basically bipartisanly fronted all across the developed world for decades that are going to bring about what I would call the end. It's not authoritarian leaders. The authoritarian leaders are just a last gasp effort for the status quo to justify its existence. By formalizing an external threat, you can get away with a couple more years or maybe a couple more decades of plundering, but it's not the fundamental problem, you know? But stuff like this makes me think that they're not listening to me, you know? They think that my position is different than what it is. Yeah, climate change is coming, but what many people don't really understand is that we're on track right now for 2.7 degrees warming by 2100. Which is bad, but this is not world ending. Like, I feel like we're taking refuge in hyperbole a little bit here. Like, if you frame my position as literal world ending, as opposed to me referring to the end of the world as a kind of like general, admittedly somewhat hyperbolic, but I state my positions clearly. I'm allowed to engage in a bit of flavorful language when I've made clear what I specifically believe is happening. But like, for one, I think this might be a little bit optimistic, and for two, I feel like you might be understating the impact of the global, like, climate crisis a little bit. Like, the supply chain problems that it's going to cause that are going to reify existing international inequities. You know, it could potentially be pretty bad. We're seeing this with Vaush right now, where he's basically quitting PV? Okay, seriously, like, I know it's the Reddit, so it's like a bit, but I try to engage with criticism, you know. I mean, obviously I yell at people in chat, as is my right, but like, who are we talking about here? I don't blame him, honestly, but he probably needs to do more self-reflection or something after this. This annoys me so much, dude. They're so presumptuous. They're so arrogant. You tune into a stream for 5 minutes, you see a guy like be in a bad mood or struggle with sleep for a couple of weeks. And you're like, yeah, man, he's broken. He's emotionally broken. He really needs to look inward. And you don't even have my positions correct. This is extremely rude. I really don't get it. Well, they don't treat me like a person, you know? They don't treat but that's very common to like live streamers or YouTubers or whatever else. You treat them like this conceptual other rather than just like a guy, you know? Vaush acts incredibly doomer all the time. Also, Vaush, will you guys stop doom posting? It's so pathetic. But they don't know what they're talking about, though. I think a lot of bad things are going to happen. I think I have a really good reason to believe that. Many good reasons to believe that. What I don't like is when people say stuff like, it's all over, or there's nothing we can do, or why even bother? Because I've argued many times against those positions. So to me, these are fundamentally different things. The doomer posting is this like anguish, this ineffectiveness, this like, this, well, why even bother? It's apathy, you know? But I'm not apathetic at all. I don't know if you've noticed, but I have strong opinions on the world and on what you should do in the world. I do think bad things are going to happen. It's just, you know, it's so presumptuous. Did you actually watch the live stream that this post is referring to? No, I haven't gotten to the stream yet. In the stream he's referring to, Vaush is not being hyperbolic. He says explicitly and unambiguously he thinks neoliberalism will collapse and cause mass famine destruction globally, and that nothing can stop it before that collapse. Yeah? Vaush talks about the future after the collapse less than 5% of the time he talks about the collapse itself. That's true, but like, I don't know. It's pretty difficult to even imagine what the world's going to look like after that. I don't really think that invalidates the point. You know? You wouldn't criticize Nostradamus for not predicting what comes after the end, I guess. I've been watching Vaush, but frankly, his predictions have been really off recently. Did tariffs damage the economy? Absolutely. Did they tank everything? No, not really. I don't know, man. Inflation looks like it's going to be posting 4% month over month, in large part due to that, because we haven't even factored in, like, for one, a lot of the tariffs ended up getting overturned, and Trump selectively, like, applied them as a way of bullying countries into agreeing with him. And he, like, made 70 fucking revisions to the tariffs. They changed, like, a bunch. But also, we're getting into a stagflation period that is substantially influenced by the tariffs. It's not all the Iran war. Like, the tariffs have contributed to an environment where the Fed doesn't have the ability to cut the rates because of inflation. But also, we're about to go into, like, I mean, stagflationary indicators are looking pretty bad. Jeremy Powell talks about it. Is he a doomer lefty live streamer? Am I being too pissy? I don't know. I don't like feeling misunderstood. People go in the Reddit, they complain. You're a messy bitch. That's fair. Maybe I'll read. I'll skim. I can skim. Yeah, that's probably okay. Like the big post, you know? I can understand a lot of people getting the impression, if they only watch videos of mine as opposed to like the full stream segments or whatever, not getting a full, I tried. Oh, that is you. Yeah. Not getting like a full understanding of my beliefs about the future might give you the impression that I'm advocating for a kind of like, you know, a selective apathy or pessimism. In my mind, like, okay, a lot of people on the left have correctly identified the fact that the Democrats are doing a really, really bad job of upholding the liberal norms in this country, from like not only in defending the country itself, but also in advocating for themselves. Like they're doing a really bad job of having like a collective strategy, a collective message. It's insane that they're less popular than Trump, the Democrats broadly. And I think that it's important to understand that that comes from somewhere. The Democrats aren't ineffective in like a unique or like I guess like special way, a novel way. The Democrats are weak in the same way that the Labour Party in the UK is weak, in the same way that Macron's party in France is weak, in the same way that the SPD in Germany is weak, in the same way, like all across the West, we have like similar patterns where you have very weak, ineffectual, ideologically undefined, poorly coordinated liberal majority parties slowly losing ground and relevance. No Canada mention? There too, bucko. Though, yes, you did benefit from Poilievre's, stunning collapse into irrelevance, but it's not like Mark Carney isn't also the Antichrist. What was I saying? You distracted me. Fuck you. Oh, you want an example as well? Japan too. It's been going on longer in Japan, but that's another perfect example of like a mainstay, not liberal socially, but liberal economically, right? Like status quo party, just like rotting, not really offering solutions, but they're just there, you know? And I think this comes from the fact that the people who really decide the shape of society broadly are wealthy people, corporations, special interest groups, consultants, lobbyists, and other people who have, you know, their hands deep in the money. I think they're the ones who largely make the decisions. They write the bills that politicians sign off on. They decide what politicians believe in. They certainly decide what pundits on the news say. They have a lot of influence, and they do it in a decentralized way where they're just acting on their own personal self-interest. So it's not like one big mastermind controlling everything, you know? The problem is that this system is very deeply rooted. It's not official. It's not like distinguishable. in a way that would allow you to target it through policy, or at least not through one policy. You would need like a massive swath of policies to even come close. And as a byproduct of the rigidity and the stability of this inequitable system, I don't think it's possible to uproot it before we run into one of the great crises of our times. That could be another pandemic. That could be climate change. That could be like a global economic collapse as bad as or worse than 2008. The fuel crisis we're experiencing right now, you know? A fuel is a pretty inelastic demand. It only took, you know, a bit of fuckery in the Middle East to like legitimately, like for years, we have dampened the production of oil and natural gas. That's not a little, and we have only begun to experience the consequence of this. It's going to be a problem for a while. The world is a lot more fragile than we want it to be, you know? So I think, unfortunately, it is very unlikely that any kind of like popular democratic movement is going to be able to like turn the tide, like we race to the deck of the ship and we grab the wheel in time to stop some like big systematic failure from happening. I don't think we can do it. It's not because there aren't good people out there. Mamdani, we love Mamdani, you know? And you can do a lot more at a local level. But on like a big international level, the name of the game is international capital. And international capital is not capable of being steered unilaterally. There is no one on earth with enough will or knowledge to single-handedly direct that kind of inertia, you know? The inertia of corporate and political power. It's too much, you know? It's too complicated. It's too interconnected. It's unimaginably difficult. I don't think anyone could do it, even if they wanted to. I think the best thing that we can do, and the project that we should be invested in, well, projects, right, plural, the big things that we should be invested in my opinion, are, for one, we have to keep people believing in politics. Right now, I think the Democratic Party is like a machine for apathy. They are so dishonest and so ineffective and so fucking pathetic that they will inspire in their constituency a belief that nothing matters, why even bother? We've seen this happen before. We've seen it happen in many countries that have ailing democracies or managed democracies. Like, for example, the Eastern Bloc, the former Soviet bloc, many places with poorly functioning democracies in Latin America, Southeast Asia, Africa, right? You see, like, to some extent, a large amount of like people withdrawing from the democracy, Haiti, because they recognize that there's not much of a relationship between what they do and want and what the people in power actually do. In America right now, I worry that we are reaching a critical point of pessimism, where the average person in America believes that, like, you know, what's the fucking point? But it can get worse, and it can reach a point where that apathy is so overwhelming that it basically nullifies the democracy entirely. Like, what is the point of a democracy if participation is so low and so disengaged and borne about by such poor information that the relationship between what the people benefit from and what actually gets done is basically nil, you know? I worry about that. I want people to not give up, but I also need people to understand that the reason the Democrats are failing in this way and inspiring so much apathy is because they are structurally captured. So my criticisms of the Democratic Party, in a way, are an attempt to shield the hearts of the Democratic voter. I don't want Democrats, like the voters, I mean, to wake up every day and go, grr, fuck the Democrats. They can if they want to, and they'd be right to. But my goal isn't that fundamentally. My goal is for them to wake up and go, no matter what the Democrats do or don't do, I will continue to believe that it's worth trying. That's what got Mamdani elected, you know? It's about an optimism underlying the negative circumstances. It's about the ability to recognize that the failures of the Democrats are not a fundamental failing of democracy or political participation, but rather the failures of the Democrats. And there might be very strong structural patterns here that have made, to a large extent, your democratic participation somewhat meaningless over the past lifetime you've had. But that doesn't mean it will always be that way, and we need to fight for a world where that's not the case. I don't think we can take hold of the ship before it goes over the waterfall. But I do think that we can seed in the public, Democrat and Republican, by the way, the idea that we got to that waterfall for a set of reasons that can be changed in the future. It doesn't have to be like that. I think the suffering is mandatory. Like, I don't think there's anything we can do to prevent that. We're going to go over the waterfall. And that could take a number of forms. Massive debt crisis, right? America's deficit spending like crazy, a defaulting on our debt, which is not an impossibility, by the way, or similar catastrophic mismanagement of our fiscal and monetary responsibilities, that could do it. The collapse of the USD as the global reserve currency, that could do it. Further attacks on the stability and consistency of our global petroleum network, that could do it. Global trade in general, that could do it. Wars, nuclear war, climate change leading to hundreds of millions of climate refugees, that could all do it. Many things could lead to like such a systematic breakdown. I don't think people understand how fragile this is. To remind you guys, like, the Syrian refugee crisis massively transformed the political landscape in all of Europe. Over 1 billion people across the continent experienced a cataclysmic change in their political environment due to a few million people making it past Turkey. Turkey took the majority of the Syrian refugees. Only a couple million made it past that. A couple million in a continent of over 1 billion. And that was enough. What do you think it's going to look like when Central America or South Asia start getting floods and typhoons that displace tens of millions of people, or hundreds? This isn't just speculation. There are plenty of reputable climate scientists right now who have talked about climate refugee crises in the future, what it might look like, the first category 6 hurricane or whatever, what it might represent, what the flooding or the water sea level. This is not like me being hyperbolic. It is a thing that experts have talked about. It's not at all unlikely to happen in the future. Those shifts could cause a cascading global supply chain breakdown that our government will just not be able to handle. No government will. Like, our government can't handle shit right now. Our government can barely handle the pithy little hurricanes it sends our East Coast compared to what's coming and how often it's going to come. I'm not saying all this to be negative. I just think we need to be ready for it. And for me, readiness is about making sure that after the big whatever happens, people know there are steps they can take to keep it from happening again. A degree of knowledgeable political participation and an aversion to certain symptoms or tendencies of power, right? To put it very, very, very shortly, like basically don't let the Epstein class run again. Don't let these like deep state ghouls who are in bed with every fucking corporation and consultancy group and lobbying group on earth, don't let them call the shots again. Don't let Citizens United happen again. I'm not saying that like the government is literally going to collapse. I just mean that, like, I don't know how to put it, man. I don't know how to put it. One day there will be a crisis and the government will not be able to fix it and there will be no one with answers. The Colorado will run dry and Los Angeles will be out of water. Or at least they'll be informed like a month from now, there will just legit be no water. And people will go, what can we do? And the state and municipal and federal governments will look at the crisis and they will say correctly, they will say nothing. There are 12 million people in the county of Los Angeles, and we have no way of getting them water in the time they need. We have 1 month to procure it, and it is not possible. The infrastructure doesn't exist. There is nothing that can be done. And when that happens, what next? Like, seriously, what after that? Like really though, what after? Like, what? We haven't really experienced that, like, in America before. It happens pretty often in, like, Indonesia or whatever. Like, there will be a big climate disaster, and then everyone will understand, like, you just have to move. Like, you just have to take your belongings in a bag and physically move to a place that's not flooded. But since Katrina, and this would be greater than Katrina, but since Katrina, like, it's been a while since we've reckoned with that, like, potential. What happens when a bad thing is about to happen and there's literally nothing we can do and a lot of people might die? Like, so many more people than you think, more than you've ever seen in America or in, like, a developed country, you know? Anyway, I'm just rambling, but, like, the signs are there. And I don't think what I'm saying is, you know, crazy. I just think it can lead to cascading failures. It would only take a couple of dedicated acts of terrorism to meaningfully cripple our energy grid in some areas of the United States, And it would only take a little bit of that as well to do significant damage to data centers, not AI data centers, but internet data centers, the ones that hold a bunch of information that's like needed for the world to function the way that it does. You might just wake up one day and some regional instability in the Western world, some area that has experienced a crisis, drought, famine, refugees, somebody attacked something, and now a significant amount of internet data doesn't exist. Government records now have to be accessed physically from their paper copies. But what about non-government records? What about information from banking companies or credit companies? Oh, the debt's wiped free. Dog, your credit balance is wiped free. So is your checking balance. That could happen. There's nothing that prevents. There are physical copies sometimes, but not always. The world we live in is more fragile than we think it is. That's all. I think that to an extent, the past, like the post World War II environment, has made us forget that. I was thinking about this when I was taking a shower this morning. Thankfully, I've always been kind of paranoid about the end, so I've always prepared. But I know how other people keep their cars. You know what my grandparents' car had when we drove around in Florida? The Thomas Guide. That's a physical map of the area you're in. It's a big map. They made many of them. All the roads, all the streets in the U.S. Tools, a winch, crank, you lift up the car, spare tire, so on. They had those things because when my grandparents were growing up, and my grandfather is quite old, when my grandfather was growing up, if you had a car trouble and you were in the middle of nowhere, which was very possible, you just had to fix it. You didn't have a cell phone. There was nothing you could do. No AAA. You had to fix it. And if you couldn't fix it, you had to walk. Oftentimes quite a while. Lived in Florida. Depending on where you were in Florida, like that could be a while. That could be life-threatening. People died sometimes. Your car goes out in the middle of nowhere, and they went out a lot more often back then. You could die. Bad weather. It could happen. Now we have AAA. And that's good, But a lot of people don't carry tools in their car anymore. I do. And a spare tire. Or all that stuff. Because we've relied on systems that are very convenient and very advanced. But there are so many assumptions you have to make. The cell towers are going to work. The satellites that allow you to use your phone properly, those are going to work. Your LTE, your 5G, those towers, they're going to be there. They're going to function. That AAA will exist. That there will be a company that's still able to go out and pick you up in the middle of nowhere. All these assumptions. You know what assumptions you're relying on when you have the tools? When you have the spare tire? Not one. Not a single one. It doesn't matter where you are, who you are, what's going on. If you have the tools and you know how to use them, you can fix it. You don't have to rely on any infrastructural or systematic contingencies. You don't have to rely on the grid working. A map is a map. I don't keep a Thomas Guide in my car. Thankfully, I know Seattle pretty well. But if I was in a new area, or if I was out in the North Cascades, I use my phone. And if I didn't have my phone, I would have to intuit where I was going based on road signs. I guess that's not really intuiting. What if I, didn't know exactly where I was going? What if I was trying to find like the nearest gas station? What if I was really out in the sticks? I don't keep a compass in my car. Maybe I should. I guess the point, I don't want people to turn into like weird prepper bunker types or whatever. I don't want people to get like paranoid about their neighbors or anything. I want people, community is what makes you strong in difficult times. We know this. This is a fact. The weird individualist obsession with like you'll stockpile ammunition and hide in a hole forever, that's dumb and fake and it doesn't work, but we do often forget like how fragile the world we built for ourselves is. And if you want to remember that, go look at how poor people in the developing world live. They don't have those assurances. If something fucked up happens to them, the government's not going to save them. It's just up to them. Their ability to drink clean water sometimes is up to their ability to find it and boil it clean. They have to filter it. That's the natural state of man. That's what we were doing for all time. Like, for all of history, basically, up until like 100 years ago, even as recently as the late 19th century, like 1897 or whatever, that was all still true. A lot of people, most people, they hunted for their food, or they had to provide for themselves in some way, or they had to like worry about stuff like diphtheria or cholera. They had to worry about like basic illnesses. They were responsible for their well-being. But now in my day-to-day life, I don't even consider the possibility that I might die of something dumb. Like, I understand that at any point in time a car accident could do me in or whatever, but I don't think like this could be it every time I get diarrhea. You know what I mean? I don't have to worry about it, because the world has been built up to my level of comfort. Because every day I wake up to an environment where an unbelievable amount of human ingenuity and capital and labor has gone into shielding me from what used to be reality for everyone, everywhere, for all time. I guess what I'm saying is that the world doesn't have to go back to like Fallout or Mad Max style shit for what I'm saying to be true. It only has to go back a little bit. A couple of outages, a couple of supply shortages, you run out of food at the local grocery store, the Hudson runs dry, the Colorado runs dry, LA runs out of water. It doesn't take a whole, you don't have to go back 400 years. You just need a couple of key like breakages, you know? I understand I've been ranting about this for a while. Are you still here, the person who made this post? Not able, go-atable? Do you understand what I'm talking about? I want people to be in a position where they can survive this and they can continue to build a political project afterwards. Because it would make me very sad if this all happened and I survived it, and then everyone reverts back to like strongman tribalism, where they think that the road to rebuilding society is like, I don't know, conquering Cascadia or preventing Mexican refugees from making it north of the Skagit River. You know, like I don't want everything to fall apart. I want people to understand that we made mistakes, but we can not make them. But to my point, you talked a lot about the corpse and not about the seeds or tree. Yeah, I mean, I know more about the corpse. And I think that that's what a lot of people are struggling with right now. And it's also something I feel more equipped to talk about, because I don't really know what comes next. All I know, or at least I think I know, all I'm confident about, is that we will reckon with these problems. Does that make sense? You do need to stop doing and talk about solutions. LexiGlorp, I know that you're participating in good faith here, but I'm trying not to have an aneurysm. Goodbye. What I'm describing, definitionally, is not dooming. It's not dooming. It's really not. I'm trying to be optimistic, man. I'm just talking about the world and how I think it's going to... This isn't dooming. It's not. It's really not. It's important you understand that it's not, because if you think that this is dooming, you might find a person who disagrees with me on this and think that they're merely an optimist. But I don't think they're just being optimistic. I think they're wrong. I don't really know, like, how it's all going to play out. I mean, nobody does. I just think it's important to... It also reframes the debate, too, because it makes it clear the real problem isn't Democrat versus Republican, or even like socialist versus the uniparty. It's more that the Republicans and the Democrats are a product of a system that was guaranteed to bring about these outcomes in a materialist sense anyway, you know? But in terms of my solutions, I've always said the stuff that I say now, right? Make friends with your neighbors, have some tools in your house. You know, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the rice and beans thing is a jokey, simplified, boiled down version of the point that I mean, which is get used to and accommodate a world where luxuries are no longer common. Get used to a simpler world. Understand the world will be harder in the future, and that you owe it to yourself to become more resilient. The rice and beans thing is just like a simple, jokey way of saying that, but that's the sentiment. That's the point that I'm making. It's not just that rice and beans are tasty, though they are. They are. I don't want to get used to that world. Well, rice and beans are delicious. You need to add spices. I don't think saying rice and beans really gets people to change their behavior, though, since it's just a jokey thing. Oh, no, but I also don't want to turn into like a prepper channel because I'm not interested in that. I'm just not. I like political commentary. I really have no interest in like, all right, everyone, here's the hour of the stream today that we're going to dedicate to like how to whittle your own whistle that you can use to attract birds that you can hunt. Like, I'm not, you know, I'm talking about the broad scope of things. I don't really think that it's an antidote to the pessimism either. Like, I don't think that people are going to be less pessimistic about the idea of the world falling in on itself because they now know how to whittle. You know what I mean? Even if it's a good skill. Also, a lot of it is that I just don't want my audience to be caught in the indefinite cycle of like hope and despair over electoralism. I align more with the anarchists on this one. It's important to participate in, but like, guys, no matter how well we do in the midterms or how well we do in 2028, I don't think what I'm saying right now is going to change. That's why I say, like, no president, Democrat or Republican, will raise taxes to the point they need to be raised to fix the fiscal problems this country is having, or to prevent like greater economic catastrophes in the future. And they certainly aren't going to do what's necessary to stop climate change, which at this point, like, in my opinion, the most moral thing to do would be to declare a global state of emergency and start requisitioning car factories to produce solar panels. Like, I think that at this point you could, like, the most responsible thing you could do is hit like the wartime power switch and start like enlisting Americans to mass production of, you know, like that kind of thing, you know, like, I don't think anyone's going to do this, right? So do what you can, do the good you can, but the long arc is, you know, we're in for some rough ground, I think. Okay, but you understand what you're saying's been true before you even started streaming, right? Yeah, well, yeah, in a materialist sense, yeah, though I think I've enhanced my political education, for sure. I've made many mistakes in my analysis. I'm confident in what I'm saying now. Certainly my outlook on the future has grown more negative, but I think it's well informed. I'm not dooming it's just over. I'm not dooming if you hope it gets better in the next run. I know you're doing a bit, but it does frustrate me because it makes me feel like you're not listening to me. I don't know how would you prefer I frame what I'm saying if I believe that the things that I'm saying are going to happen? I don't know how to sugarcoat that. It's not like life won't be worth living. Like, the idea that your life can only be happy in a world with DoorDash is fucking gay and Israeli. Okay? People find ways to be happy in areas of the world that are much more materially dispossessed than our own. And you can too. I think being informed isn't helpful if people don't have any solutions to channel that frustration to work. Not notable, go-attable. I think I might just break with you on this one. I disagree that I've proposed no... For one, there are no set solutions. There are just things you can do to prepare or, like, improve things. Solution? Who has a solution? Solve what? Solution? You can try to improve things. But I disagree. I disagree with your perspective on this. I don't think that the information I'm providing people is bad. I think that sometimes people treat me like a therapist, where my job is to make them feel like it's all worthwhile. And I can say what I believe, and I can talk to people about how I feel about the world and how I think people should live their lives. And I think that oftentimes my advice is very good, but I don't consider myself responsible for people's responsibility that they have to themselves to reconcile with the idea that the world might not get better in their own lives, which I think is unthinkable to a lot of people. I think basically everybody watching this right now grew up thinking that history had moved in a progressive direction and that in their lifetime things would get better. I don't think a lot of people around my age grew up thinking like, this is all going to fall apart. I think that they felt that that wasn't going to happen, that we'd made it through the big, bad, dark parts, and maybe there'd still be bumps along the way. I think a lot of people didn't really think that it could get bad. But remember that for most of human history, the idea that things would improve in your lifetime wasn't even a consideration. For a feudal peasant, 100, 200, 300, whatever, like, you didn't live and wake up every day thinking like, oh, maybe the monarchy will be better in my lifetime. You just made it through your life. People lived and died in a house and in a village that didn't change in many cases. Like, the world has been moving so quickly over the past 100 years. I think people have forgotten that, you know, that's not the norm. We're not peasants, come on. Did you listen to what I said? I don't know. Again, I can't really do anything on your... Communication is a two-end street. I'm paving mine. You need to work on yours. Is that what you took from what I said? Do you think we'll be facing a return to the mean in our lifetime? To normalcy? No. But I still think things will be good. Jesus, man, you'll still have stuff to look forward to. You'll still have delicious meals, and you'll get to fuck cute people and, you know, have a family or whatever. Go on walks. Like, it's not over, man. Doesn't matter what happens. The whole project, it's still continuing. I just want people to, you know, frame properly the way things are going and why they're going that way. Sorry, my energy is starting to wane here. I started stream pretty tired. My enthusiasm for complaining about the way people on Reddit treat me kept me going for a little while, but now I'm just starting to damp out a little bit. Can we end the good note by reading my top comment? Your top comment? Yeah. I think what your chat needs to hear is there's more to life than political obsession. Or, well, I mean, I think it's good to pay attention, I guess. It's just like, do you only care when you're winning? Like, do you need to be fed a Marvel movie narrative for your participation in politics? Like, it's only worthwhile if you get to lay epically uppercut the bad guy and prevail? Like, I don't know. Sometimes shit takes a long time to settle out, man. Long time. Is your reasoning for not giving advice about how to brave the storm and only giving the warning because people should be doing changes per person? It's because, like, I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm just saying I think that we're not solving fundamental problems, that we're going to crash into them. I don't know what the problem's going to end up being. Global petroleum shortage, defaulting on debt, end of USD as global reserve currency. I don't know what's going to happen, man. I'm only saying we're running up into big existential threats that I don't think that our governments are structurally capable of addressing. But I like, I don't know, like, very basic advice and self-sufficiency is all I could really offer, because everything else is going to be conditional to circumstances that might not make themselves known for decades. I don't know if this is even going to happen in the next 10 years, 20, 30, I don't know. It feels weird, like, everyone get ready, in 30 years you'll need to know how to boil water to survive. Like, it's not my wheelhouse. After the nukes fall, maybe I'll talk about it more, okay? But, like, right now, it's, you know, like, I'd rather talk about stuff I find interesting and engaging. There are plenty of survivalist channels if that's what you're interested in. I talk about rice and beans. Get used to that. I'm sorry, Saki gave me 2 OKBV links, and I'd actually rather die than engage with... Oh, by the way, I meant to say this, but I hope the people at OKBV know that my partner finds your posting delightful. Sometimes I'll be laying in bed and they'll giggle, and they'll show me one of your dumbass fucking posts. So they like it. Just letting you know you've got shooters out there.